Idaho Matters podcast is brought to you by St. Luke's On-Demand Virtual Care, which allows patients to see a provider from their home using a computer or smartphone with on-demand care for common ailments, such as a cough, sore throat, or a sinus issue. More information at stlukesonline.org. Idaho lost more than 2,000 farms over a 5-year period. Idaho Matters wants to know how that's impacting farmers, cities, and counties. Listen to our series on farming called Land and Legacy. Episodes available on Monday afternoons through November 17th in the Idaho Matters podcast feed. More Idaho Matters now from the studios of Boise State Public Radio News. I'm Gemma Gaudet. Where do you find artists and creatives that translate movement and music as well as stories and visuals into new universes? Well, that would be LED, the artist company in Boise, which is a brand new theater they're calling the Dixon. Lauren Edson is the co-founder of LED, and she sat down with our Morning Edition host, George Prentice. So let's take a listen.
What do you tell a stranger about LED? Is it possible for you to, do you have the proverbial elevator speech?
You know, that has been our age-old challenge, I would say, because we are so many things, but we've just distilled it to we make art that moves people. I think simply put, we combine lots of different mediums to create worlds and cinematic experiences, and it's really got collaboration at its core.
I think I heard you say in a conversation some time ago, you were talking about your story. And if I remember right, I think you said that you began dancing probably about the time you began walking, right? About the age of 3, yes?
That is correct. Yeah, my mom put me into a creative movement class, and initially I really didn't take to it. I think because I was so shy. I really did not want any attention or spotlight, and dance felt a little vulnerable even at that age. And yet I kept returning, and I soon realized that it actually was a vehicle for expression, and it became such a core part of me, and felt like it was kind of inevitable, and I didn't even have to think about it. It began to grow in amazing ways.
I want to talk about that expression because I'm going to guess that there are more than a few young folks out there who struggle with expression. I know I did. Can I assume that movement gave you a language?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I really didn't speak very much, and I was so shy, and I found movement to be beyond language. It's so it can't be reduced to words, and I think that's what is always felt at home and transcendent for me in using it as an expression on stage, but also just to process, to return to whenever I've had challenges or needed to connect again.
Let's talk about the Dixon. Now, I am certainly old enough to know the Dixon Container Company, and your new jaw-dropping space, the Dixon, is what used to be the Dixon Container Company?
We would often come to the Dixon Container Company to get cardboard boxes. And I remember it was probably, I don't know, it was probably 4 years ago. We were driving down Shinden and thought, and then 2.5 years ago, we had the good fortune of friends near this building in the neighborhood said, I think this building is going to be going on the market. And I know you all are interested in talking about a performance space and growing LED. And we got a tour of the space and immediately knew from just the jump that this could be exactly what we dreamt of in its distinct spaces of a warehouse could be the theater, and the retail space up front could be a lounge, and then the upstairs space could be transformed into a loft for classes and workshops and gallery. And it truly spoke to us immediately.
How do you start with a vision like that? Because it's so grand.
Yeah, that's, I don't even know now that I think it's such a blur because there were so many moving parts. But really, we have had the good fortune of so many meaningful relationships throughout our 10 years as a company. And we got connected to amazing architects and contractors, and our board is phenomenal. And each day, it literally a 2.5 year process, we have been working on this. And it's been through the efforts and hearts and hands of so many phenomenal individuals that we have arrived at this moment.
Boy, you've got the right type of friends. That's for that's for sure. Talk about creatives. Let's talk about your production. That is the first production at the Dixon, and it is My Strange Darling. What can you tell me about that?
My Strange Darling, a couple pieces. One that is at the heart of it is that it features this beautiful puppet built by a Boise artist named Jessica Nebeker.
It's a
And
life size, right?
it is, it's life size and it's a little heavy, but
Yeah.
it's amazing to see, the narrative has really stemmed from my husband and I, who's a co-founder, Andrew and I have obviously been talking a lot, as we all have, about, the accelerating space that we find ourselves in with AI and dilemmas that are approaching in terms of connection and
Mm,
perception and really I think the loneliness that is felt at this time and how do we fill that space. And so the core of the narrative was constructed by actually looking and setting it in the 1950s because we felt like if we put it 70 years ago, this would be
mhm.
a nice space to kind of echo the challenges that were actually and the themes that were being approached at that time as well through sci-fi and machines and technology and the black and
Wow.
white TV when that was such a innovation in the homes. And we felt like, 70 years from that point, they would have never possibly imagined that we would be where we are today. And so it has this kind of sci-fi undertone throughout, and it's all rendered in grayscale. So the sets are all built and designed by Michael Baltzell, incredible artist here. And it's all grayscale. Dancers are all in grayscale. We have a black
Wow.
and white TV. Yeah, so we're really trying to push the lens of which you imagine that you would be watching it through a screen and
And it
echo.
is cinematic. Is that the
It
point? I
is.
mean,
That's the whole
okay.
point. Yeah, we are very much trying to drop you in a world. And so the kind of the core seed of the work is it follows a performer who is the star of a show called The Razzle Dazzle, and he retreats each night to construct a robot that he believes is his alone. And then it expands as creatures like that do. And it's a question of containing it and or releasing it and or keeping it or leaving it behind.
So don't give too much away. Does the dancer control or manage the robot, or is a dancer inside the robot? I mean, it's huge.
This is an excellent question. I love this question because we just showed a small excerpt of it recently, and someone said the very same thing. They thought that there was someone inside the puppet, and
Right.
oh, it's actually so it's manipulated by three dancers at a time in the style of bunraku puppetry from Japan.
Okay.
And this art form is obvious so incredible, and yet the dancers, puppetry is an extension of dance in so many ways, and so we have spent a lot of time learning the craft, and because we are tasked with bringing this puppet to life and for it to have sentience, and it's so beautiful to see it transform. And so Jacob interacts with the puppet and it's being
Mhm.
manipulated by three dancers at a time.
Wow. An original score?
Original score by Andrew. Yeah, it's so good. And it, again, really leans into the cinematic feel of it. I am so lucky as a choreographer to have an in-house composer. That is pretty unheard of. And to be able to say, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
I'm gentle. We've done this for so long that it's pretty awesome how we can create something wholly unique together.
How unique. An arts organization, especially a performing arts organization, done well, serves a purpose and, claims a particular territory, claims its space, if you will. Have you thought about what space that LED is claiming here?
Yeah. We are all about original creations, art and art making. We want our work to serve not only as something that can exist on its own, but also as inspiration to artists in the community to build and share and iterate in their own ways and to collaborate. We often joke that collaboration feels a little more like cooperation,
Mm.
and to really nurture and try to give artists the tools to embrace collaboration, because it can be challenging, and sometimes you can feel like I'm going to just do this myself because it's going to be harder to have to yield in ways. But
Right.
that's the beauty. That it really is the beauty when you bring in, for us, just in this production alone, to have a team of designers and 9 dancers and original music and a puppet maker and a puppet coach and a scenic designer. I mean, it's pretty remarkable.
And that was our morning edition host, George Prentice, speaking with LED co-founder Lauren Edson about the new theater, the Dixon. Their performance of My Strange Darling continues through October 25th. And that'll do it for this episode of Idaho Matters. Thanks so much for listening. And just a reminder, you can find all of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts.
Sources and methods, the crown jewels of the intelligence community. Shorthand for how do we know what's real? Who told us? If you have those answers, you're on the inside, and NPR wants to bring you there. From the Pentagon to the State Department to spy agencies, listen to understand what's really happening and what it means for you. Sources and Methods, the new national security podcast from NPR.